Bo0007. Love. 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 You've heard me say multiple times with stuff, like has nothing to do with it. It shouldn't. Like has nothing to do with it. I'm going to share with y'all something that I love. A thing. How can you love a thing? I love the thing for what it represents. And so it's not the thing. It's what the thing represents to me. This beautiful work of art was made by a brother and his family for me to express appreciation and love. And it has its own case, and it is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. See the rest? Still shoot off either side. Now this gorgeous work of art has the functionality and the beauty of EFOC, but it also has the functionality and the beauty of multiple layers of intersection with things I care about. It's a representation. It's one of my prized possessions because on the heart and the spirit and the way it was presented to me and why it was presented to me. It is a reminder to be thankful. It is a reminder of what friendship is. It's a reminder of what love is. I spent hours making this. Hours and hours and hours was spent. Time was spent for me by someone else I cared about to make this. Now, this system, and it is a system, it has arrows specifically made for it. It has a case specifically made for it. It has all these things. This system is something I treasure. I treasure this system, what it represents to me. And many of you who have been shooting for a long time or using an axe for a long time, any of those things that came from your ancestors or your friends or your loved ones, it has a certain quality to it that you could never replace. Like a Glock is a Glock is a Glock. I'll go buy a Glock. Yeah, it changes sights. It doesn't have the same impact. I would be upset if I lost this. Not because of its killing power, which is awesome. Not because of its martial capacity, which is awesome. Not because of its aesthetics or its beauty, but because of what it represents. This bow and the arrows that came with it represents another family intersecting with another family in love. And that is different. I've heard Brother Bear say this a couple times that, the drums are for him. It's his thing. Well, shooting is that for me. Especially this type of shooting. Or my shooting that I do, the BFT burpees, the hunting, the way I intersect my practice, my time. It is mine. I don't like putting it on camera. It is mine. That's when I don't have to think about the rectangles anymore. Just like Brother Bear has that thing to fill as well with, the drum set. The drum set. Just like the intersections many of my brothers have with their kids. They don't put that on camera. That's not for camera. That's for the family. This weapon system, right, is such a system. Now these systems I think are very valuable. They're extremely valuable because it helps anchor me to valuing those that are valued to me. my double barrel 20 gauge that was given to me that will be passed on to one of my kids, hopefully, or my kids' kids, hopefully. It has that quality to it because of how I got it, what it is, how rare it is, right? Maybe my Russian SKS, because it represents a whole nother thing. But then it will have a different value to those kids, grandkids, than the Marshall stuff, than the ARs and the Glocks and the Fowls and the Moisens and the AKs and the 1022s and all the other things. If you've intersected weapons as much as I have, there is a thing, and that's the love portion, and I get that. A lot of people think I'm just mechanical with a machine gun mind for machine people and machine. No, I'm not a machine that way. But I distinguish the difference between it because this can cloud the functionality. This is not a takedown system. It's not highly portable. It's lightweight. It shoots great. It's awesome for what it is. But to me, it's more of a symbol than it is a tool. It's a very practical thing, but it's one of those fine gifts that it touches my heart when I look at it. You see this PVC, it means nothing to me. I don't love it. I don't care. And so then it's expendable. And there's a certain quality with expendable things that you're not emotionally attached to. You see, if you get into this, then it's not a big investment. It wasn't someone else's big investment. You learn how to do this, and then now you have the skill, and then it's just like making a pointy stick. All right, it's like, okay, it's just another pointy stick. But if you've never made one, like my first basket, my first wonky basket that I made with the tutelage of Jim Riggs, sitting there with Kody Lundeen making that basket. And I'm like, this basket's the most wonky, stupidest looking basket ever. I've made a bunch of baskets since then. This is decades ago. But I keep that basket because it anchors me of where I was on how little I knew about that genre in that way. I hadn't intersected the primitive in that way. I had no need. I've got plastic buckets. I don't need a basket. I didn't need the skill. I'll just buy my way into it. You see what I mean? Whereas if you understand, this is an easier material to work with in many ways than wood is. And I know most people aren't going to take the time in their plastic worlds. Your plastic, fantastic world doesn't have a lot of love in it. So embrace this. Embrace this first because you won't care about it. You won't care about it for what it is, the money, which is minimal, the time. You don't sit back and look what a fine piece of PVC this is. It doesn't have the same quality of wood or a cedar arrow and steel intersecting an animal. It's like I save the deer and the elk here for the future. For the future of walking down that trail with my friend, with my brother, killing an animal with him and his kids and my grandkids. Using the old school stuff like the Zouaves, the Flinters, the bringbacks from Afghanistan that were kids hunted with, which taught them principles. Some of them are super practical, some of them aren't, as far as their attachment to those or detachment from it. Some things mean a lot to certain people, but they don't mean a lot to others. If you're ginning out hundreds of bows, it doesn't mean much to you. This means a ton to me. I could spend $3,000 on a bow and not get this. I could spend $3,000 on a custom bow by a custom boyer and not have this value. Those valuable things, although they're great and they're awesome, is not the system. Those are part of the BFT system on how you guys intersect with each other and love. decide to make this special thing for me. It's a way of showing love. I'll have a couple of rigs that Brother Kody modified for me because they were not functional. Type 83s. He put pockets on it. Those are more valuable to me than the saw rig. And I know that might blow some of your guys' mind, but it's like, why? Because he did that out of love for me. And so now they have a different quality. And for him, it's nothing, sewing pockets. But it's the fact that someone used their skills in an expression of appreciation and love. And that's what I try to do. That's what I try to teach my students. And see, that's the bigger picture. That's the stuff that matters. That's the stuff that matters. That's the stuff that matters. The other stuff, It's cool, the kit. I mean, you can use this with your kids. That's the thing people miss. It's like, what bow? Get these, make these with your kids. You can scale up and scale down, and have a family fun time making these things with your kids. It could be really fun. You can make a jig to press them out if you want to. I mean, you can intersect the PVC bow as much as you want, as easy as you want, cheaply. All you need is the ability to boil water, and you can make these. You see people like, I have to have my special press. No, you can take your time. You got 2 2x4s together, have someone press down as another one holds it as it gets cold. Now in the summer and spring is the time to do this, because this material is more forgiving then. It's less brittle. It's hot outside. So you can use your heat gun easier, or your fire easier, right? To make these things. For your kids, you can make friggin' dozens of them. I have a box somewhere, devoted to these. There's so many ways you can make them. They'll fit in a butt pack. You can make them by sections. What? There's so many ways. It's just like the Fritos bag, the Doritos bag chip exercise with your kids. Things you can do with your kids. This is something you can do with your kids. Now, this whole series generally would be, it's at the ODB level, but this part of it, this is the crescendo, this is the top of it that matters, is general order 1 and number 2 is the love. You can show love and have quality time with your kids making this. This bowl means a lot to me, because a brother took his quality time with his kids, and they all had their hands on this, and his wife. They all had their hands in this in one way or another. And that is what makes this valuable. It makes it awesome. It is a awesome thing. Look at the stitching craft that has to be there. The understanding of cordage. The understanding of flex. The understanding of tilling. This is a hickory bow. Look at that copperhead skin on this. I couldn't make that. I've never done it with a copperhead skin, so that's something outside my lane. Because I've never made something beautiful, just functional. The thing that I made that was beautiful was memories, making stuff like these, making bows, making like the other wood bow over there. That was beautiful, was the memories. This is 60 pounds at 28 inches. How much love went into it. There's so much love went into it. It's like I don't want to use it sometimes, because there's that much love that went into it. I know, it's like, go use it, go kill someone with it. Yes, there's going to be a time for that. When we're all here. Glad to see you by my side, my friend. And with this stick, to learn stick, to stick is to life. This stick represents life, because a family worked together, pulled their talents, their resources together to make this for me. To show appreciation for things I pulled my resources for to help them, my talents. That's why this is important. This is amazing. It's beautiful. It's lovely. Pure. Simple. Powerful. It's the love. For systems that you can lose, the love you don't want to lose. So don't wrap up too much of that. That's the thing, is when people they love the bolt gun because their dad taught them, and that's awesome. That's great. Do not cherish those memories and pass those things on. But you're passing on something different than practical, right? As far as weapon selection goes, don't confuse the two. This one's more valuable to pass on, the love. Way more valuable to pass on than the weapons. They use their talents to make this for me. It's amazing. I never auction it. I'd never sell it. Very few things in my life I would say I would never sell it. Like, a lot of people have all kinds of memorabilia. I don't. I'm not one of those people that has a bunch of stuff like that. Like, even stuff I brought back from war, whatever. I'd rather forget half that shit. This I want to remember. This I want my kids to remember. I want my grandkids to remember. Why? What it represents. It has a place of honor in my house. Not because it's the best bow in the world for whatever tactical thing. It's the best bow in the world for me because it expresses love. It's an expression of love from someone else. And those things, if you can make those things and share those things with other people, if you can give them your best, your talents, and give them to them. And sometimes it's a making of an object. Sometimes it's fixing their car or digging a ditch or, pushing over some trees with a backhoe. It's whatever you can do to help their life, And this helps me to keep focused more than maintaining my archery skills. I look up at it. I'm like, okay, remember the love. Some of you have that. You have your granddaddy's shotgun, your dad's 22, your little single action Ruger that was passed, whatever. Like the hammer, the axe that was your grandpa's. I remember my grandpa died. There was this cologne bottle that was a moose, and that moose reminded me of my grandfather, and that's what I wanted. Isn't that weird? It wasn't a functional thing. It's just that was the anchor point. This isn't and weapons and tools can be that way. They can be anchor points, especially if you make them together. You can take a piece of plastic and make some memories that are more powerful than any bow on the planet. You can use the skills as the sugar for the dwell time together. That's one of the things I learned from wars that was powerful. I remember I went to a gathering, Earthwalk Northwest had put one on, and my oldest was very young. 5? He was either 5 or 4. And so we drove hours. It's like just him and Dad in the truck. We left the dogs behind, left his siblings behind, just me and him. We drove and pulled off on the side of the road and slept in the truck, and he slept in my arms, like that kind of thing. So we drove, and then we get there, and we made there was a class. So there was a lot of classes that had families, like that was cool. I would like to do that sometime for training of just that with people I trust as they bring their kids. But it's always the liability thing, and you have to have the right people. And so we were making cattail dolls, but action figures, right? Because he's a boy. That thing stayed up on our. It was made from corn husks and some fiber rope. It looked like a little martial arts ninja thing. So we took a class on how to do that, and they had learned that that crafting, I think, from Moors, and that using the craft of. So what did they learn? Learn twist overlay, how to make cordage was part of it, how to tie, how to work with that material, like corn husks. But to have father-son time around it was, a lot of father-daughter and mother-daughters there at the same time. It's like, oh, that's a cute doll. And then my son was like, it's not a doll, it's an action figure, which is awesome. It's little. Doing those things, using the skills, the crafting, whatever it is, teaching them how to use a plane for the first time. Using an axe, using a hammer, using a machete, you engaging the environment. However, shooting minnows with a BB gun and eating them, right? Like all the types of things that, and follow the rules, whatever. Wherever you're at, finding the ways to embrace with your kids, with your friends, with your loved ones. You can use martial stuff that way. Just don't confuse it. Because it can be the emotion of the thing. Like, this is the best bow in the world. It is to me because of this. No, the heart means this. You know what I mean. It's symbolism. It's a love. Right? Love. Now, what's another way of looking at that love? Another way of representing that love is a book. It's the power of the book in action. You see that in the emblem. And you see the blank pages. Because there's 5 levels of understanding to what's in that book at a minimum. If you spent your whole life focusing on the execution of these 2 things, it would not be a life carelessly spent. See that with like The Last of the Samurai. It talks about contemplating the cherry blossom. Well, yeah, there's an element of that, and that is focusing on general order number 1 and 2, which is essentially what we're supposed to do. The golden rules. Love God and love your neighbor. And so having the representations of that love in your life is a weapon. It's a weapon where no weapon formed against you will prosper. Because of the love. The love that's in that book. The love on how you intersect with each other. All the skills. All the time. It's like, this is a gold bar for me. Might as well be made of solid gold. Might as well be made of solid gold. Because the precious time that my brother spent this with his family making this for me. That's no greater love. Not doing what he wanted to do necessarily. And there was trials in making it. There was effort, all kinds of effort. You ever work with hickory? You know, work with leather, work with cedar, work with feathers, work with glue. Yeah. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's an excellent thing. How can you bring love into your life with something simple? You know what's great about something like this? If you've never done this, is it if you approach it right with your kids or your grandkids, you can approach it as a child. I don't know, let's figure this out together. So then the pipe's not in the way. Because sometimes we intersect the genre so much and our egos are attached to it, the pipe's in the way. How many of you think your manhood's attached to how well you can make a PVC bow? I hope it's not. Right? I hope it's not. But it allows you the standoff to do great things with your family. More than one way of intersecting. Survival applications, weapon systems. How many, if the kid leaves it outside, the lessons you can learn over and over again with something like this. How heat and pressure can form something to be functional. Heat and pressure, how to lay your hands on something with welding gloves. How to protect yourself with leather. How to manage fire. How to boil water, how to pour the water, how to measure. You can see the marks. There's measuring marks, and I left them on here, and I left this in this stage to teach lessons, to how to find center, how to find the flex. Where's the flexibility? What's the line? Does it need to be tweaked a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right to get back on the straight and narrow? We're still kind of crooked and wonky, but it's still going to do the thing. It'll get it done if the arrow's straight. If the arrow's straight. This should give many of you a deeper understanding of some of my methodologies. They point vertical. They point vertical. That's the important lesson from the bow, becoming the arrow. You have arrows in your quiver, but you only have them for a short period of time. Be the right kind of string, be the right kind of bow to propel them to success, to the target. To the target. If you're too concerned about your stick and not paying attention to the arrow, you may lose the arrows because they weren't aimed at the right target. And if you're lucky, they might return. If you shot them too far up, they might not come down and crash on your head. You pick up and if you get that second chance, that other time to intersect, cherish it. Treat those you love better than strangers. Treat those you love better than strangers. What's the point? What's the relationship? Do you know bow? That's the question. Do you know bow? Learn bow. Do you know bow? 0007. Get out into the high mountains if you can, where instruction happens. Embrace the system. Understand the difference between like, love, function, form. Carry rucksacks, not feelings bags. Shalom is preferred.